The Silence of the Lambs was released in February of 1991, so it comes to a lot of surprise when it went on to win 5 Academy Awards the next year, for Best Adapted Screenplay of the original bestseller by Thomas Harris, Best Director for Jonathan Demme, Best Actress, Best Actor, and Best Picture of the Year. This is probably the most unusual winner in Oscar history, as this film takes on a more realistic movie monster, the serial killer, in a more graphic yet accurate manner by tackling the subject in a more scientific angle. Today, the film is known as a landmark in crime drama, and its main antagonist, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, has achieved cultural iconic status and is seen as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, villain that has ever been portrayed on celluloid. I'm not going to hide the fact that I do have a healthy fascination with the topic of serial killers. While it does feel a bit wrong to be interested in people that has caused nothing but pain and suffering for countless of people, there is still that morbid curiosity in the dark side of human nature, of why some people find joy and even purpose in killing innocent people for their own perverted desires. At the time of the movie's release, the public has already been saturated with stories of serial killers in the news, like John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy. In about 5 months after the film's release, we will be hearing about Jeffrey Dahmer. Also in the 1980s, the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit has come up with a system called criminal profiling, and where they assign attributes to unknown offenders in terms of their physical, psychological, as well as their history for unsolved crimes, most notably for serial killings. While it has proven itself out in the field countless of times, it has received much criticism because it is not based on science, and it has led to false leads with disastrous results. What The Silence of the Lambs does is look at this new tool in police detection to show to a more broader audience and kind of give them an idea of how profiling works, as well as telling an engaging and thrilling story. Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster, is a young upcoming FBI trainee in the Behavioral Science Unit of the FBI who is sent to interview the brilliant psychotic Dr. Hannibal the Cannibal Lector, played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, to gain new information about an active serial killer known only as Buffalo Bill, who likes to skin his large female victims. As Clarice moves closer to catching the killer, she has to go through a psychological journey with the Mad Doctor to come to terms with her past that could either make or break her. What I've noticed whenever people talk about this movie is that they put their whole focus on Hannibal Lecter, but not so much on Clarice. It's almost as if she doesn't exist because people are more fascinated by the crazy doctor who has a taste for the human flesh. While that is perfectly understandable and I do enjoy watching him, I'm not going to lie to myself and say along with the majority that the performance by Hopkins is 100% flawless. There was one time in my life when I watched this after having seen it many times before that I thought his acting was cheesy. Just the way he says his lines almost make it feel like he's just hamming it up, not all that terrifying to me. Like he's trying to be crazy without making himself look crazy, if that makes any sense. Now, I don't think that way anymore, and it certainly isn't terrible, and I do enjoy his interactions with Clarice. But I just don't find it as scary as, say, Annie Wilkes in Misery. Thankfully, the movie is not all about Lecter. This film is all about Clarice Starling, about her journey into the netherworld of crime and serial killers, her dealings with a past that continues to haunt her, and controlling her emotions in times when confronted by the great evils that humanity has to offer. This is a wonderful character, and I've always enjoyed going with her into the bowels of hell and back out again. An interesting note is that the FBI helped with the making of the film to give it the most realistic feel in how the real FBI is like how they gather evidence or perform an autopsy. In fact, they saw this as a recruitment tool for women who are interested in going into law enforcement, and this film does reflect that change in society at the time. We can see from Clarice's perspective of how men, particularly ones who are in the police force, see and treat her as he breaks into the world that was once predominantly male. This scene here where she gets these looks from the local police just sends chills down my spine whenever I see this, because it puts me where she is and get to feel what she is feeling, and it's just a great way of getting into the mind of a character. It is such an excellent female empowerment film that makes her human and is not afraid to show her more vulnerable side while giving us a courageous side that would inspire any person, male or female. As I said before, this film actually wants to take the subject on serial killers more seriously than previous films has, like Psycho, and while it doesn't forget that it is a movie and its main purpose is to entertain the audience, it also wants to educate the public and give them a taste by taking them into the world that only a very few people ever know about. The atmosphere is chilling and tense, the colors are muted and cooler to give it a more grounded quality, and it just feels like I'm watching a real life crime drama unfolded in front of me. It even has a sense of uncomfortableness to it when we see Buffalo Bill pick his next victim and tortures her, and it does not let off when it does go to that terrible place and what victims go through before they meet their end. And the one thing that is the most memorable part of the whole thing is the interactions between Dr. Lecter and Clarice. In exchange for the psychological profile of Buffalo Bill, Clarice has to give the good doctor a little bit of herself, her emotions. Here we get to understand her, about her character, her drive, her fears, her desires. That wonderful soul-searching performance that Foster gives when she finally gives everything up to Lecter is such a remarkable and spellbinding scene that I name that as one of the most powerful scenes in movie history. Whenever it comes up, I give it my full attention to it and I never let go until the very end of it. I just love it that much. My feelings for this film certainly has grown on me, especially with recent viewings. Clarice Starling is one of my favorite characters to watch and is one of the greatest female role models, someone who displays strength and intelligence with an incredible touching performance by a very talented actress. The atmosphere is dark with its realistic view on serial killings and is something that doesn't take itself lightly. While it does play on some myths like serial killers are highly intelligent, it's still a very entertaining film that is one of those movies where I could watch it over and over again to take me down to its hellish world of crime and evil and still be enthralled by its story and characters. While not as perfect as a lot of people think it is, as it does show a bit of age, it's still an excellent film and worthy to be in any movie lover's collection.